Hi everybody, Joel Ludlow, Evolution JKD. Here is number 4 in this video. So if you haven't seen 3, 2, and 1, go do that. All right, they're in the playlist. Go get the other ones. This will make a whole lot more sense if you do. Even if you already understand the science behind it, they're not that long. They'll still be really easy for you to go through. And I really put some easy numbers and you'll be more prepared for my drawings, all right? Which I did do a little bit of prep in this. Going with force equals mass times acceleration, working with our body mass. We talked about the points to increase our mass. We've talked a little bit about how to increase acceleration, but now we're gonna go into the 5 ways of attack and how that works. So speed is important, and understanding it and how you apply this with your 5 ways of attack is really always trying to work you towards this equation. If you put this into your training, whatever you're doing, if you spar and you're moving around and you don't have to go very hard, if you're using the 5 ways to help you manipulate the numbers, your mass and acceleration numbers, to increase your force and be successful. You've got to be successful. If you just throw a giant punch that's super hard, it's not like one of those little punchy things at the arcade where you hit it and whatever. That's great. This person's not going to stand around. You have to use these to get in here. Our math numbers that's why they don't really matter other than for understanding, because we want to understand how to increase those numbers, but the numbers are never going to be ideal. So here we go. We have our hit speed. We have our body speed. We're going to go with this is going to be, I'm adding in, so if you watch the other ones, you should have watched the other ones. We're going to add in rotation, and give you a little bit more. Rotation. That's going to be, I'll put a little bit higher, make it easier. Rotation speed. Push, shuffle, I release. That speed. Doesn't have to be a whole lot. But here's the thing, they're going to be different. This is going to travel 1, this is 1, this is another, that's another. They have different distances. And your job in your training, as you're cultivating, is to line these up so they're even. Then if you're going, again, we're going acceleration, but if we do 10, 10, 10, with our arm extension, our body rotation, and our push shuffle, 30. Again, if you're weighing 200, 200 times 30 is more than 200 times 20 or 200 times 10. Okay? We understand that. Great. Joel, we are maxed out. I have been practicing. I've been doing this, and I've gone through all the nuance for everything, and I've included a contraction here, a little bit of drop there. I've tweaked out the system. These numbers, I've gotten in like 2, I got in a little bit more here and a little bit more here. So I've added in a 6 here and a 4 here. I've maxed this out. It's done. How can I still hit harder? How can I increase my force? Okay, let's go on to this. Relative, this guy's standing. Some of you already know this. The moving, if you're walking on one of those walkways at the airport, the moving walkways, if I'm walking beside you and I'm going, or I'm sprinting, I'm running my fastest, and you're not on that moving walkway, I'm going to be seeming a lot faster. I'm going to travel that distance. If you've ever been late for a flight or needed to get across the airport very quickly to catch that flight, you've probably run on one of those walkways, all right? You can run and cover distance from A to B because it is moving and then you are moving along that. So you are going to travel faster. Same idea as this. You're increasing your speed. For us, we look at acceleration. Point here to the point there. All right, so that can be from over here, it could be here and coming back. What is your acceleration, and then how do you increase that number coming from wherever your 0 is to your top number? How do we get that more? So 5 ways, we're always trying to increase this as we're looking and scoring. But if I have all of my numbers going here, how do I make it even stronger? Well, I include this, and that ups not just my acceleration, but also my mass number. So if I weigh 200, and this person weighs 200, and I've got 10, 10, 10, 10, and they've got 10. If we do just me, 10, 20, 30, 40, 40, what's the math on 40? 8,000. Pretty cool, huh? No. Is that 80,000? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Oh, and then 8. No, it's 8,000. Again, if you haven't heard one of the other videos, I've been using a calculator for like 30 years. So my cool high school math brain and university math brain, done. But, so 8,000, right? Now, if we increase this, and I probably should have pulled out a calculator for this one, so we make those numbers bigger. So we have our mass of 200, but plus 200 gives us 400. And then we have our acceleration of 40, but plus 10 gives us 50. Well, now it should be 20,000. If you've been sparring and you've ever zigged when you should have zagged, or you stepped into a punch, and if you've watched fights, you've seen boxing, MMA, kickboxing, any of the striking sport arts coming through there, a guy steps in and he's out. Why? Well, because that number just skyrocketed. Just went through the roof. Okay? Suddenly, the guy's prepared for 8,000. He's getting over twice as much oomph in there. And that's in there. A lot. Now, let's reverse that a little bit. And what happens if the guy goes that way? Well, let's say he just does 5. If he does that, he takes his mass out of the equation. And 5, well, suddenly it starts doing a lot of things. Okay? We're going to go with the easy version and then the little bit more nuanced version. Still simple, but just a little bit more nuance into it. So if you have this, you've got 40, you're going 8,000, it does 5. Wait a minute, it's 35 now. So we're less. We're at 7,000. That punch isn't as hard anymore. Okay? Now, what really happens, we're doing that, we're also stretching out that distance, which means you start erasing things. And then your acceleration number for this might only be 5. And because you've gone distance and come through there and you didn't do it, you actually lost your mass. So your mass is now not 200, but maybe it's down to 40. 200. Most of the time when you're sparring, someone punches at me. Sorry, I'll be on this side. Someone punches at me. I move back. I take their numbers out. So they're hitting me with 200 instead of 8,000. And then you put a squishy glove on the end and it really deadens that. It's much easier to deaden this than it is to do this. But what happens when you get it right and it's not 200, but it's that 20,000 we were talking about? Suddenly, using the 5 ways to score that hit and maximize our numbers here to get our opponent with as much of their body mass moving into us so we can have their acceleration. So when I take my force equals mass times acceleration, I can take these numbers and add them to it. So if I can go 200 and I can combine everything for my acceleration, I max it out to 100%. And I can get theirs, and they're really, maybe they're trying to punch, and I I take that inside slip or the outside slip, whatever it is, to maximize it, and I start lining things up. So this arrow and this arrow start lining up. It's not just my alignment, but it's also lining up 1, 2, 3 with a target that is now going this way. So if they're all moving here, and you line it up, bang, that's when you get to do this. It's not just, oh, they're moving, because there's nuance into it, okay? We really start jacking it up. So we start adding in another 200, and we add in another 100 because they're exploding into it. We're now 400 times 200. That's a way bigger number, right? That's dynamic. And that's just using numbers for expressive purposes. We're not actually doing measurements. We're using it for expressive. I want to go with one more final thing to sort of get it into your head with these points of reference on your body and alignment of the body. So you're lining up your shot just like a pool player, like playing billiards. You want to line it up, and you need 1, 2, 3, right? I'm going to stretch that out a little bit. 1, 2, 3, so that I can draw an arrow. My arrow's not going to be perfectly straight, so just bear with me. Goes into this one, goes into this one, goes into this one. Now, the target is here, and if I have the target go this way, our acceleration point increases, and we increase these numbers because we can borrow the mass and we can borrow the acceleration. But they have to be in alignment. If 1, 2, 3 are sending your payload, your force this direction, you've done everything right. We're assuming everything is right. And if you've sparred or been in a fight, you know it's not ever always right. But we're talking about cultivation and our own understanding. This target, if it's going that way, we talked about it, that's going to decrease all of my numbers. If it's going this way, I might still get a little piece of that mass and a little piece of that acceleration, because there's your little geometry, right? Mass and acceleration going this way, we can find out what this number is, okay? I am definitely not doing that math without a calculator. So what we're ideally is trying to do is line those up so that we can most efficiency in Jeet Kune Do. Economy of motion is to go 1, 2, 3 and go in here so that we can maximize this equation in our striking. So when you see somebody who is hitting and they're talking about economy of motion, but they do that, body moves, shoulder moves, stationary, then I punch. They're not looking at it properly. I move faster. You move faster. Someone is always going to be bigger, faster, stronger. They're going to do this better than you, whatever. We're trying to increase our numbers so that whatever our numbers are, they're as economical, they're as efficient, and as powerful with as much force possible that we as an individual can create in any given moment. That's why you train a whole lot. Not to show how tough you are, but to work math. But way cool. It's way cool math. All right? So if you watch any of my videos, I'm doing this. It's not hard sparring. It's smart sparring. Hope you like this video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do check out my other videos and let me know if you like this and want to see more of it.